Welcome to the channel and Survival Sunday. Now, Survival Sunday is a theme I used to run on the channel a couple of years back, where I would jump in against a fighting game and basically battle against endless AI in the interest of surviving as long as I can and getting as many victories as possible. So today I'm jumping in with Mortal Kombat 11 on Xbox One, and I've jumped into an endless tower on medium hardness. I'm still quite new to MK11 at the moment, which is why I've jumped into medium. A lot of my older videos for Survival Sunday are typically on hard mode, purely because I was playing a lot of the games that I was using at that time. So for the first time in Mortal Kombat history, I've actually gone with Kano, and he's pretty much my main at the moment, which is unusual because I've never ever mained Kano before. But in this version of Mortal Kombat, he's kind of clicked with me. I've got a bit of chemistry with him. I'm not at the heady heights of 10 combos or anything with this guy yet. I'm getting there, slowly piecing things together. I haven't actually spent any time training in the game at all. This is me just learning moves on the fly, or at this point what I've learned in 3.5 weeks, and just going into the tower. Ideally, I probably should spend some time in the training mode and take a proper look. Pretty cool fatality, this one. So my best in a endless tower so far in Mortal Kombat 11 is 17 fights with Scorpion. Now, Scorpion is typically my main unless Cyrax is available. I'm a huge Cyrax fan, really love Cyrax. But obviously he's not around too many of the Mortal Kombat franchises. Now, originally I bought this game back in original release. I think it was last November 2019, and I couldn't get into it. I kind of loaded it up, looked at it, played a couple of towers, and just got put off by it. It just seemed too complex and too much hard work to enjoy, and as a result I put it down. And I didn't actually go back to it until around 3.5 weeks ago, where I basically post my gaming collection and share stuff about gaming on Instagram via my account at king_lizard. Now, every Friday I do a collaboration with a guy called @thatretroperson, and we share 2 hashtags. My hashtag, which is #FightClubFriday, and @thatretroperson's hashtag, which is #FightingGameFriday. And we encourage the Instagram gaming community to share their love of fighting games on a Friday using those hashtags and tagging us so that we can see their efforts. And basically I share my favourites during the course of the weekend, because generally we get quite a lot of interaction now, which is great, because that was what this was intended to be, was a community activity where we can share our love of fighting games and beat 'em ups, and see what's out there. I've seen a lot of stuff, especially this Friday. I saw quite a few games I didn't even know existed, which I would have missed, and I've added them to my hunt list, which is my extremely long list for building my games collection. It's getting a bit expensive though, and a bit out of reach, but some of them eventually I'll find them, or I'm kind of hoping that I'll thrift them out for a nice cheap price one day and get lucky, but we'll see. But yeah, basically we encourage the gaming community via those hashtags to share their love of fighting games. About 3.5 weeks ago I woke up really early, which is extremely rare for me because I have severe sleep apnea. Those of you that follow me on Instagram and on YouTube for quite a while will probably know that from some of my videos. And basically I get around 14 minutes sleep a day, which is pretty shit really. And as a result I fall asleep all day, and typically my waking day is around about 10 PM to 2 AM, 3 AM in the morning. Now, I do try to go to bed early, get my sleeping pattern right, but it's just not working. Long story short, I've got a supposed cure and it doesn't work for me. And as a result, I struggle to get into new things. I suffer from depression as well, which doesn't help from a mood perspective or from a mindset perspective either. And I find new games quite bewildering. Now, I did buy this game way back in 2019 when it first released, and didn't get into it. I just, like I said before, found it really hard work. Couldn't bring myself to play it. And because I had a good day 3.5 weeks ago, I posted Mortal Kombat 11, and my intention that day was to get to grips with the game because I felt quite fresh, which is very unusual for me. So I jumped into the game, started playing, started picking up the game and working out all the little things that I couldn't get my head around before. And for me, Mortal Kombat 9, 10 and 11 are mainly about living towers. I have played PvP in the previous two games, however, I generally prefer to just jump in on the single player experience most of the time and enjoy that side of the game. Now, with Mortal Kombat 11, I played a bit of the story, around about 50% so far, and it's actually really good. In terms of Mortal Kombat, stories go, I think this is probably the best one, to be honest. Excellent graphics, as you can see here, fighting graphics are amazing, but also the FMV that you get for the story for the MK11 is really, really cool too. And I'm looking forward to finishing that, because you have to finish that in order to unlock Frost as a playable character, so I haven't actually used Frost as yet. Now, the other thing I've been doing, as I said, I'm into the living towers, and the first thing that put me off about this game was consumables in the living towers. I initially perceived that as some kind of loot box variant, and I was totally wrong, to think that way. And since playing for the last 3.5 weeks, I understand how it all works now. If you're familiar with Mortal Kombat X, a lot of the living towers had modifiers, and those modifiers could be rockets that just randomly hit you during a fight, mines being chucked in, or C4, or other characters popping up and knocking you across the screen while you're trying to fight the AI. Quite infuriating stuff at times, and really, really tough on occasion. A fair few towers that I failed much later into the tower on MKX, where it was just ridiculously too hard. You were kind of getting 3 modifiers hit you at once. The AI had armor, they had rockets hitting you, and they had a character coming on the screen beating the shit out of you every now and then, and it just made it pretty impossible at times. With MK11, now that I understand it, what they've done with the consumables is that they've actually balanced the game. So you basically go into your living tower, and at the beginning of the tower you can see the modifiers that are active, and depending on your consumables, you may have consumables that will help you get through that match. So for instance, you might be up against a Scarlet, for instance, who does blood damage with lots of blood based modifiers that appear across the screen. These blood bat things, the blood globules, increase in blood damage in certain areas, that kind of stuff. So you could, for instance, equip a 50% decrease on damage for blood. You could also increase a modifier that disables floor modifiers and stuff like that. So there's sort of things that you can do from a consumable perspective to counteract what the game's chucking at you and give you more of a chance to beat the AI. And it actually works really well, and it actually makes a lot of sense to me now that I've been playing it for 3.5 weeks. So it's kind of a bit of a puzzle before you jump into every fight. You have to work out which consumables you're going to take with you to counteract the modifiers that the game's going to chuck against you in the living tower that you're within. And I'm really enjoying the little towers right now. I've spent quite a lot of time in the crypt as well, which this particular level is a area in the crypt. Absolutely phenomenal graphics here. I love this stage. For me, in terms of stages, this is definitely one of my favourites. If you look carefully, you'll see there's a spider kind of in the right side there, creeping through the hole, quite creepy. And on the left side, you've also got another spider who sort of climbs down the hole and peeks in at you. It's quite eerie, but you just have to respect the level of detail in these graphics. And I'm only showing you 1080p here, remember, as well. You know, this isn't 4K footage. My 4K capture device sadly failed, and it was a bit of a nightmare getting it replaced. As a result, I got credit in the end because it was just a joke. But you know, I kind of haven't gone back to 4K capture. One, because it takes 10 times the capacity in terms of storage, but two, it didn't really help my channel when I chucked 4K up. You know, it didn't increase my viewership, so I'm not going to spend another 200 plus pounds to buy something that, you know, isn't making any difference to my channel. But you know, in 4K this looks mind-blowingly good. I mean, it looks good anyway, as you can see, but in 4K it's just that much sharper and stuff. So, and also this game is getting a free next gen update as well. So it'll get an Xbox Series X and a PS5 version, which is really cool, and it's free, which I love. You know, that's great support from Neverworld Studios. I was jumping up and down there trying to get a fatality that I couldn't get. I was trying to do a stage fatality. I thought it was a general fatality that I found on the internet, because I'm having trouble. You know, obviously the game shows you the fatalities, but when you're playing live, you know, I typically will have the phone next to me to remind me of the fatalities, so I can try and pull them off each time, you know, I get to a fatality. But I was trying to do a stage fatality there. You'll see me probably do it again a bit later, where I'm jumping up and down like an idiot, achieving nothing. So, you know, now the towers and stuff make sense to me. I'm actually really enjoying the game. The other thing that is different in MK11 are gear sets. Now, gear sets are basically kind of the same idea as Injustice 2's gear sets, although I prefer Injustice 2's way of doing gear sets in some regards. With Mortal Kombat 11, what you get is basically 3 pieces of equipment you can attach to every fighter in the game. Now, those pieces of equipment have 3 augment slots on them, and those augment slots basically do a variety of different things. And in order to use the augment slots on the equipment, one, they have initially an aesthetic look to them. So in Kano's instance, he has the eyepiece. So you'll see I'm using a different eyepiece on this character, the chest piece, and also his knife. So they're his 3 pieces of equipment, and you know, the first immediate change you'll see is an aesthetic change, so you can choose how they look. The other thing you'll see is the augments. So you'll get 3 augments which will give you benefits to your character, so up to 9 different benefits. And the augments themselves vary quite a lot. So you have, you know, very generic augments like the green skull augments. They're typically things that let you earn more per fight. So for instance, you might get 1,000 or 2,000 coins for every interaction you do within a stage. So, you know, picking up a spear and stabbing someone, or, you know, sticking the head on a spike, you know, those kinds of things will earn you more money. You can even earn money just by flipping stance, or even gear XP as well. So generally they're beneficial things that help you either level up your gear sets faster, or help you unlock stuff like coins, souls or hearts to be able to use to unlock more equipment for your characters in the crypt and stuff. The other type of augment you get is basically elemental orientated. So for instance, you can change physical damage to dark damage. What's the word? You can actually increase damage, but a lot of the later level type damage improvements you get also mean that you have some disbenefit as well. So for instance, you might get a augment that lets you deal 10% more damage. However, part of the trade-off is that you take 5% more damage than usual as well. So it won't all be benefits, so you kind of have to balance it out depending on what type of player you are. Obviously, if you're quite an aggressive player, a 10% damage trade-off for 5% for yourself could actually work out for you. But you know, there's a whole variety of different high-level augments. Now, the augments themselves are leveled as well, and I've seen up to level, I think level 3 so far. So obviously you get level 1s, which are quite basic, then level 2s, which are slightly better, and then level 3s, which are even better. Possibly higher level ones. I haven't seen any as yet. but you know, they all give you some level of benefit, but also with some of the higher level benefits, there's, you know, a need to balance what you're doing as well. Now the third level augment is a bit unpredictable because you can actually unlock your third level augment for your equipment but not actually have an augment to put in it. I've actually got a lot of characters where I'm in a position where I can put a third level augment into their piece of equipment, but I don't actually have any of that type of augment. Now the augments that I've seen are generally relative to what's the word, improving a particular move. So for instance, if you're playing Scarlet and you've got that blood clot ability, it'll increase the amount of time that the duration of blood clot lasts, or increase the effects of certain moves that you choose to apply to your character. So it's, you know, there's a lot of juggling around to be done. Obviously, I'm not an expert at it. I'm just kind of using what I think would fit for the character that I'm using, and you know, it just adds a level of things to do within the game in order to improve your character. The thing I'm not clear on, because I haven't played PvP yet in MK11, is whether the augments reflect on PvP or not. I've not played that, so if any of you have, maybe leave me some information in the comments so I can learn as well. Finally managed to pull off the Mercy there. So the Mercy is left trigger on your controller and then down on the D-pad twice, I think, or is it 3 times? And that will actually earn you a Mercy. Now obviously that will bring the other character back to life, but one of the benefits of doing a Mercy is that it's easier to perform a brutality on a character by doing that. So that's pretty much the gear set side of things. Again, something that looked quite complex to me, but actually isn't that complex once you get into it. So other things in Mortal Kombat, as I said, the living towers, there's 2 flavors of living towers. So there's the living towers where you can go in and earn extra gear and stuff for your characters and do special challenges. They're generally a lot tougher because they include modifiers as well. You know, so they're kind of the community challenges, and then you've got the classic living towers, which are more generic, just fighting without modifiers. So if you don't like the modifiers, you can play, you know, against the AI without the modifiers. However, if you want to unlock aesthetics and also unlock all the stuff in the crypt, you're going to have to keep hitting the, you know, community level living towers, if you like, in order to earn that gear. So far, all I've done is manage to max out the gear set stuff for Baraka and get 25 of the items for him. Basically, when you get 25 items for a particular character, you go to the crypt, you stick their head on a spike, and it gives you a bunch of benefits and stuff for doing that. But you have to do that for every character, so there's a ton of stuff to do. It's crazy. Crypt is actually pretty fun. You know, you can go in there, unlock coins, and you do get scenarios where, you know, you unlock different pieces of gear like you did in MKX. So for instance, Raiden's staff. You also unlock Kenshi's blindfold that lets you, you know, see things differently and see crates that you didn't see before, that are physically there that you don't see without the blindfold. The problem with that is, though, it puts you into a different dimension, and these things called ghouls can get you, and they have scared the crap out of me so many times it's not funny. I've actually jumped out of my skin and shouted a few times where they've just caught me off guard. It really does stress me out playing with the you know, the blindfold and stuff. There are, however, like there are modifiers for the living towers, you do have modifiers within the crypt as well. So there is like some kind of element you can take that will stop you being affected by or attacked by ghouls for like a minute or something like that. So there's a whole bunch of things to do. If I were to rate MK11 based on my experience thus far and compare it to previous games in the series, my previous favourite used to be Deadly Alliance. However, with the release of MK11, I must say honestly that this is now my favourite. It's taken me a long time to get into it, a lot longer than it should have done, but now I'm playing, I absolutely love it, and I just don't want to put this game down. Definitely one of the best fighters I've played in quite a few years. On par for me with Injustice 2, which I also love. Injustice 2 being a slightly simpler fighter, I would say, but you know, I've still got big love for that game as much as I do this game. Graphically, obviously, it's, you know, the best thing we've seen from the series. In terms of content, it's, you know, comparable to some previous, you know, masterpieces of old, if you like. Things like MK9, for instance, and MK10, where we had a lot to do in the game, and obviously Mortal Kombat 3 Ultimate was quite a big one as well. But in terms of Mortal Kombat, I've been playing since, you know, the arcades, back in, what was it, 92? I think this originally released. Maybe 91, and I loved the bits out of the arcades, and I was really impressed with obviously the fact they used stop motion video to create the characters. You know, got actors in to, you know, build up the characters for the original games. One of the games I still have in my collection is this beauty. So Mortal Kombat Trilogy. This is actually on PS1, so it's got all three variants of the original first three Mortal Kombat games, which I like, and these still stand up pretty well today. They actually stand up better, I think, personally, on things like the Mega Drive or Super NES. They are good on here, but I don't know why, I just prefer the 16-bit versions of them. But really great games that still stand up today. Even the first game, I find myself replaying that on Xbox 360 Live Arcade as well. I've been digging into that again recently. My favourite, obviously, there, Deadly Alliance, PlayStation 2, fantastic game. This was my favourite until Mortal Kombat 11 came out, and had an excellent fatality in this game. Basically, Kung Lao, obviously he wears his razor hat, and you know, the fatality would be he'd grab this hat, sling it straight at his opponent, it would just hit them square right in the skull here while they're screaming, obviously, with blood going everywhere, and then they drop backwards, kind of like Ric Flair. They just kind of flop backwards into a, you know, a what do you call it, rigor mortis style, you know, like rock solid drop back onto the floor, and then he'd kind of walk up alongside them, and then he lifts his heel, stomp in the stomach, and the hat pops up, and he just it's just brilliant fatality. I love that bit. But really great game this. If you've not played this on PS2, you're missing out. Excellent. It was also on GameCube as well, so definitely worth a look. Deadly Alliance, Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks. Now this is actually a beat 'em up, and really great game. I loved the bits back in the day. I never actually finished it. This thing kicked my ass at the end so many times, and I was busy with work. I was a workaholic when I was working, and I you know, used to buy a lot of games and never actually finish the bloody things. So this was one of the ones that kind of fell foul of work, but also fell foul of me getting my ass kicked. I will return to it though, and maybe even film it for the channel. Great game, you haven't got it. PlayStation 2 as well. I just killed my light, but shit happens. Deception. This is one I haven't spent a whole lot of time with. I didn't mind what I played of this. I thought it was okay, but I haven't spent a huge amount of time with Deception. Got it on both, you know, PlayStation 2 and Xbox OG, as you can see. Need to go back to this, because I'll be honest, I know I played it, I just can't remember it very well. Time's passing me by. This one gets a lot of fun poked out of it. Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe, and I thought this was quite good for the time. You know, for me, I actually quite enjoyed this. I mean, if you look at now, the animations do look, you know, they look a little bit stale, and it has dated. You know, it hasn't aged brilliantly, but there's still a good fighter in here. I think the biggest thing for me was the challenge mode. You kind of had this challenge mode where you had to do so many different move sets, and one of them was to hit a 10-string combo. And I was like, you know, my fingers were bleeding trying to do these bloody combos. And then I noticed there was like a little glint happening at the top of the screen on the move, and you had to perfectly time it with that bloody glint, and it was a complete nightmare. I think I might be wrong. I think I might have done Batman's complete set, but he was the only one. All of the rest of them, I struggled to get past like 7 or 8 of the challenges. It was a bloody nightmare. But I'm stubborn though, so I will go back to this and try and actually beat it one day. That's for sure. Another game from my collection. I've got this on PS3 as well. Mortal Kombat 9. Obviously, it was a Mortal Kombat reboot, and this actually includes towers for the first time, or a variant of towers. Absolutely awesome game this. If you've got a PS3 or an Xbox 360 and you want to check out a good fighting game, this was one of the best of its era when it came out. Absolutely brilliant fighter, and a ton of great characters in there as well. Even got Freddy Krueger on the Xbox 360 there. Obviously, the last entry. This is my steelbook. I love this thing. Look at this. So this is Mortal Kombat X Steelbook on Xbox One. They did do a variant of this for PS4 as well. So really nice steely this. And this is actually kind of embossed. So it you know, the scorpion kind of sticks out the screen. I can show you. Can't really see it so well there, but he actually comes up higher than the case. Really nice steelbook edition, that one. And I do have the original as well without the steelbook, but that's another story. And then this steelbook, this is the Ultimate Edition steelbook. Bit boring actually, this steelbook. I actually preferred the cheaper version. So this one is you know, your black MK with your gold emblems and stuff. Pretty boring inside, not a lot going on really. I personally prefer the other variant where you get the Scorpion character on the front here with the yellow background, like you do when the game loads up. I am going to hunt that one down. I'm working on it at the moment because I'm a big MK fan. But you know, that's a small, well, say small portion. It's probably 75% of my MK collection there that I've just shown you. A little bit of a history, but I mean, I've been playing since day one. Deadly Alliance, as I said, was an all-time favourite of mine for a variety of reasons. I love the fact that they, one, it went 3D, two, there was actually progressive damage on the characters, even back then on PlayStation 2, and also it had a really good training mode. So anyone walking into a fighting game for the first time, it actually had a really good mode that taught you how to play the game. And I think that's a key thing with a lot of these fighting games. So many of them will just literally have a training mode. You have to press start to see the menu, and then you have to find the moves. I hate that. That just puts me off. And I'm sure that's why a lot of people don't play fighting games, is because that's just too much hard work. And I totally agree. The games I like the most for their training modes, definitely Deadly Alliance had a great training mode. You step into it, do the training mode, and you'd learn everything you need to be able to do in the game to be able to play it and enjoy it to the max. Probably my favourite game for training modes, if you've got a PlayStation 1 lying around, Street Fighter EX Alpha Plus. It wasn't, or isn't, well received by a lot of the fighting game community, but I actually really like it. It is obviously the first 3D Street Fighter, but they had a challenge mode in there where you had like a series of objectives you had to do, like combos, and it was a fantastic way of just learning how to play the game. And I've not actually seen, for me, anyone that did it as well as Capcom did with Street Fighter EX Alpha Plus. I think that mode, in terms of a challenge mode that taught you how to play the game as well, was really good. I mean, Street Fighter 4 also had quite a good challenge mode as well, but it was quite tough. It got quite tough quite quick, I found, and some people might have been put off by that. But it's also another great example of a good training mode that can actually teach you, how to get the basics and more from the fighting game that you're playing. And I think unfortunately that's a big divider between a lot of people playing a fighting game and not playing a fighting game, is how accessible they are. And I think another aspect of it is how complex they are, because obviously there's a lot of moves to do in these games, and not everyone can take that stuff and maintain it. And for a lot of people I talk to who don't play fighting games, most of them just find it overwhelming and can't be asked to learn all the moves and stuff, which is a shame, because there's a wealth of games out there that, if you practice with them, and even if you just adapt to one character and learn one character well, at that point, the whole world fighting game starts to open up for you, because you'll have an idea of the movesets, and from that alone you can even start to guess other characters' movesets and stuff, and progress that way. I mean, that's pretty much how I've been learning Kano. I haven't done any training at all in here. I've just I've played the game for 3.5 weeks. I have played a lot of other characters. I've played every other character in the game thus far, but Kano is the one that I'm maining and playing around with the most. But everything I've learnt with Kano, I've learnt without the aid of the game itself. Obviously, sadly, these days we don't get manuals. Back in my day, you got a manual of the game. You had all the moves there, the special moves, so you knew how to play. And I always used to read those, when it came to fighting games, because I always wanted to be really good at the fighting game, but also, more importantly, to see everything it had to offer. Because obviously, if you're doing basic moves, you're not seeing everything the game has got to offer, and you miss out on a lot of content. It's literally chalk and cheese. You're not seeing everything that's available if you don't spend some time with the game and at least learn all of its movesets. So, good old Liu Kang here has given me a pretty rough time. As you can see, I've gotten into the later fights. I think this is round 15, and this is where things really got difficult for me. And I couldn't take for granted I was winning matches at this point. I did have a couple of earlier matches that were a bit tough, but Liu Kang here really turned up the heat on me. But yeah, I mean, fighting games in general, I think it would be great if a lot more people started playing them, even if it's just playing them single player and making the most of them. I see so many people I know that are gamers that just don't invest time into a fighting game. I suppose sometimes it might not interest them at all, which is fair enough. But there's some great fun to be had with these, especially if you're playing with friends and stuff. Me and my sister play these. She's big into fighting games because of me. We grew up kind of 8 years apart, but my sister was, she was crazy about Sonic the Hedgehog when it came out. So the first thing I did with my first major, wage packet was I bought her a Sega Mega Drive, and she really got into Sonic the Hedgehog. She's shit hot at that game. And we've always played, fighting games together on the Amiga 500 when she was younger, as well as, fighting games on the Mega Drive and Super NES and stuff. And then over the years, mainly, again, PlayStation 2, Xbox 360, Xbox One, of course, which is what we're currently playing at the moment. We do need to match up on this yet. She's got to install her game and get it working, but the problem she's had is her drives failed in her Xbox. It's one of those day one units that was good at failing with drive issues. I'm just hoping that my Xbox Series X, which I will be picking up this Tuesday on 10th of November, I'm hoping that comes without any new features, e.g. failure features. The Series X is something that has interested me for a while. I'll be honest, if it wasn't for the fact that my Xbox One X had failed 3 times in the last year, with video out failures every time, I kind of lost confidence in it at that point from the product. I know a lot of people that have got them and don't have issues, but I do use mine a lot, and I don't know whether it's my usage that is showing issues with that particular console or not. But to have 3 different Gears of War 5 Ultimate Edition consoles, and actually 4 consoles, and 1 original Xbox One X Black Edition, the generic edition, which I traded in for the Gears of War 5. So I've had 4 consoles all fail with this video out issue at this point. And on the 3rd failure of my Gears of War 5 Ultimate Edition, I went back to the supplier and just demanded a refund. It was 9 months old, but I mean, I fought for it and I got it. And if it wasn't for that refund, I wouldn't be buying an X Series purely because I think with the X series at the moment, I think it's too early for an next-gen console personally. Things are just too expensive, and obviously with what's going on in the world right now as well, there's a lot of people struggling with money, and it's not exactly the best timing in the world. I am grateful for a new console, and obviously I'm now in a position to get the console because of £450 credit I got from my Xbox One X. That said, I've been using my Xbox One S now for, well, since May, and it is a bit of a downgrade. It's a bit depressing going from 4K going down to 2K. I don't want to sound like a snob, but it's, you know, it is quite a difference, especially when you're looking at games like, you know, Generation Zero, Red Dead Redemption 2. Not so much this game. This game still looks pretty good on Xbox One S, but I mean, you will see a markable difference when you switch over to a One X. But so yeah, so I'll be picking up my console on Tuesday, November 10th. I will do probably a couple of unbox videos. I'll try and get them in early if I can, if I'm awake enough, and get them up on the channel. So those of you wondering, you know, what comes in the box and stuff, and you know how it all works, and you know, I'll pop those up maybe just for those that are interested. So I kind of let the cat out of the bag there. I'm actually buying two consoles, which I'll do unboxes for both. So I'm buying the X series for myself, and I'm buying the S series, which is the digital version, for my wife. And the reason for that is my wife has had quite a tough time this year socially, and she was pretty down midway through the year because of obviously everything else going on in the world, like most people. It's having an impact on our mental health and various other things. So I had her join me and my friends with Red Dead Redemption Online, because she actually has an Xbox One S that I bought her a long time ago, for more, you know, media orientated reasons, you know, Netflix and that kind of stuff. But also she occasionally plays, like, you know, the match-free games, Zoomer and that kind of stuff on there as well. But recently she's really gotten into Red Dead Redemption 2. I think she's on like a 200-day streak on the daily side of things, so she's really enjoying gaming again, which is cool, because I love to have someone to game with and enjoy, you know, passing time with. And it's pretty handy having a wife that does it, because obviously she's in the same house as me, and we can kind of, you know, match up together quite easily in terms of time frames and stuff as to what we're doing. But yeah, so I'm buying my wife the Xbox Series S because she never wants for anything, and you know, she's not your typical shopaholic, if you like, that you can sometimes come across. But you know, she's like the complete reverse. She never wants for anything. She's the reverse of me, the anti-me. I always want everything, every game that comes out, every bloody console. You know, my want list, or my hunt list, which is what I call it, is endless. You know, probably stretched to the end of infinity and beyond. But my wife is, you know, really easygoing, so I wanted to do something special for her on the release of the new console, so she can enjoy her console downstairs with me, where we've got the other 4K TVs. What I hadn't anticipated, though, as we've been seeing the last week or so, is that our 4K TV that we watch TV on is actually on its way out. It looks like we're kind of getting a darkness kind of midway down the screen. It's like the LCD's failing at the bottom part, and it's just getting really dark down there. So it looks like that's on its way out. Luckily, I've got a year of warranty left, so I'll be pursuing that tomorrow to try and get it replaced. Another fun thing to do during COVID, I'm sure. But I'm on the... What's this? This is the 18th fight here with Sindel. Now, she is bloody hard work this far into an endless tower, or at least for me at the moment, and my skill set. You know, long term I'll get better with time and I'll be able to get further before the game starts to give me trouble. But right now, you know, she is a really nasty character to meet, and the problem is you always tend to meet Sindel or Frost really late on in the endless towers. So you know, these two characters, Sindel and Frost, are, you know, really hard work. So somehow I've got to find a way of getting good and you know, get past these two characters. I guess I need more practice. And she is just about to be one of the very few characters to take a bout off of me here. So not a great thing for me. Now there are leaderboards for this as well, which I enjoy. I don't think I've got particularly that far in this in terms of the leaderboard, or that high up anyway. I missed far too many fatalities and brutalities and stuff in order to, you know, get the necessary high scores to be at the top. Obviously the key to, you know, these towers to get the most out of them is making sure you finish with some kind of finishing move, whether it's brutality or fatality or friendship, you know. But it's more important to mix things up a bit as well. Don't keep doing the same thing over and over because you can, because that will give you less points in general. You know, you really do need to mix up the way you finish characters. The other, you know, point that brings me to actually is, you know, when you're playing something like a game survival mode or an endless tower, always make a point of mixing up your first move, mixing up how you attack the AI. You know, if you keep using the same formula to attack the AI, or the same way to attack the AI, it will learn that in time, and long term it'll start to block you a lot, and it will make your life really hard. So very key to, you know, mix up what you're doing during the whole tower, just to keep the AI guessing so it doesn't know what's coming next. Don't be predictable. That's my advice anyway. So fight 20, and I'm up against Frost. Frost is my nemesis in this game at the moment. She is the character that has ended practically most of my endless towers in this game. She's got very devastating distance attacks, as well as some extremely nasty close quarters combat moves like that death spin. Now, I'm not sure what this shield does, whether it's just protection for her, or whether it actually slows down your moves. So I'll probably come to understand that in time. But I haven't actually played with Frost at all yet, because I still need to unlock her in the story mode. And she is definitely a character I'm interested in playing. I think she's looking like she's going to be a favourite for me, if I can pull her moves off and stuff, because she's actually very impressive and quite a devastating character all round. And she gave me her X-ray, so I'm giving her some back with interest. Kano knows how to treat a lady, doesn't he? Quick snack. And it's, you know, it's little things like that that make this game great. You know, the little animations that go on in between the fights, the banter between the characters, the detail in the stages and stuff, just phenomenal. And obviously, you know, all those fatalities, brutalities, X-rays, and friendships and stuff. And they really sum up what this game is about. You know, they are very gimmicky, but they, you know, they work. They just make this game a fantastic game, and, you know, something I'll love until, you know, the day I die, basically. It's great fun. And if you can play it with family or friends, it's even better. I mean, that's how these games are best enjoyed. Yes, you can do competition online and stuff, but, you know, there's a lot of stress involved with online. People just take stuff too seriously these days. You know, for me, I play for the fun of the game, not for the win. You know, obviously I'm going to try to win, but if I don't win, it doesn't mean I haven't enjoyed myself. You know, as long as I've had a good match, I'm fine with that. You know, it's all about the filling in time, if you like, playing the game itself and experiencing it. As long as I can do that, I can enjoy it. But, and there just seems to be a lot of people. It seems like online a lot of the time these days, you know, unless you're losing, you never get to finish a match, because you know, Injustice 2, the amount of people I had rage put on while I was, you know, just about to finish kicking their ass, so that they could try and save themselves a loss. I don't know whether it worked or not, but, you know, what's the point? I mean, you're never going to finish a match if you can't take losing. Same as, you know, racing games. I've given up with racing games online, unless it's Wreckfest, because obviously Wreckfest, you know, it doesn't matter how dirty the racing is, because that's what the racing's all about. But you know, games like Forza Motorsport 7, Forza Horizon 4 are just so dirty now. They're no fun at all. You know, for me, the thrill is the race, not, you know, knocking other people off the track and cheating. You know, if you have to cheat to win, that's not winning to me. So, and the same, you know, same for these fighting games. You know, if you're jumping in a match, finish it regardless of the outcome. So there you have it. Frost terminated me again. Pretty demoralising. Got to 20 fights, but obviously I only completed 19, which is still a record for me. So it's still some progress on my part. Obviously I've got a lot of work to do to get to that next stage, which is 25 wins. So I'll take this opportunity to thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this quite long slice of Mortal Kombat 11. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the video. Would you rather just see the fighting, or are you quite happy to have me chortle on in the background? Typically I do these things live. Today I thought I'd do something a little bit different, do the playthrough and then add live commentary to it as well. That way I can focus a little bit better, rather than trying to do everything live and fight the AI as well, which would probably result in not as good a result in terms of the fighting. Anyway, big thanks again for watching. Big thanks to everyone that supports me on YouTube and on Instagram. Take care, keep well, and most importantly, come back soon.